Welcome to Pod Studio, level up your fluency from trending topics. Today we are going to talk about building autonomous agents in Copilot Studio.
Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at, a massive digital headache, that shared customer care mailbox.
Oh, yeah.
It's where literally hundreds, maybe thousands of support emails, order questions, complaints just pile up.
Right. Just creating this huge backlog someone has to manually sort through. Forget responding, just sorting is a job.
Exactly. So today we're not just building like a slightly smarter FAQ bot. We're doing a real deep dive into the blueprint for a truly autonomous agent. One designed to basically make that manual monitoring obsolete using Microsoft Copilot Studio.
Yeah, the mission here is pretty ambitious, but honestly revolutionary. We want the system to actually read an email, figure out what the customer really wants, product info, an order update, are they, angry, and then automatically look up the right information from potentially lots of different places, maybe take some actions, and send back a personalized professional reply, all without a human clicking a single button.
Wow. Okay, so that sounds like replacing a whole layer of human triage with a dynamic AI decision maker. So what's the tech stack? What's the architecture we need for this?
We've kind of broken it down into 4 key pieces, not necessarily sequential, but all vital.
Okay.
You've got the brain, which is generative orchestration.
Right.
Then the facts, knowledge grounding, using both structured data like Dataverse tables and unstructured stuff like documents.
Right.
Then the wake-up call, the triggers, in our case, that shared mailbox. And finally, the hands, the action tools, letting the agent actually do things like sending emails or logging data.
Okay, let's start with that brain piece, the generative orchestration. Sounds pretty central. So when you first set this agent up, the goal is pretty clear. Completely automate the customer care email auto-reply process. We called it the customer care auto-responder. Simple enough name.
Yeah, but just naming it and telling it to be polite isn't the magic trick.
Right.
We need to give it the power to strategize dynamically.
And that's generative orchestration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is the big conceptual leap. Forget thinking about it like an old-school chatbot with rigid if this, then that logic.
Okay.
Think of generative orchestration more like a strategic commander for the agent. It uses its underlying large language model to look at the situation, the incoming email, consult the instructions we give it, see what tools it has available.
Like the email sender or the data logger we'll get to.
Precisely. And then it chooses the best sequence of actions right there on the spot. It's not pre-programmed.
Ah, okay. So it's not like step 1, the chat table, step 2, draft email. It might decide, based on the email, that checking the table is the best first step, or maybe it needs to check that PDF first, or maybe do both.
That's it, exactly. It's a huge shift from traditional automation. And to get that level of sophisticated decision-making, there are a couple of key settings. Obviously, you turn generative orchestration on. But critically, you also enable something called deep reasoning.
Deep reasoning, what does that unlock?
That's the engine that lets the AI really weigh different possible actions against each other. Like, should it log this complaint and find a solution, and how should it sequence those? Deep reasoning helps it manage that complexity. Plus, the agent also uses its built-in general knowledge, so it's not starting totally from scratch.
Okay, but hold on. If it's deciding dynamically, how do we make sure it, sticks to the script? How do we ensure it grabs the right customer data or follows company policy? Doesn't that introduce risk compared to a fixed, predictable workflow?
That's a great question, and it leads right into why the next piece, grounding, is so incredibly important.
Okay.
The instructions we give it, and crucially, the specific data sources we connect it to, those become the guardrails. The AI is instructed to stick within the boundaries of that information and prioritize that grounded company-specific knowledge over its general knowledge base when there's an overlap.
So its reliability really hinges on the quality of the facts we feed it.
Absolutely. Garbage in, potentially very polite garbage out.
Right. Perfect transition then. A smart brain needs facts. Let's unpack that knowledge grounding. How do we feed this agent the company truth?
So we connected it to 2 main types of business data. First, the stuff that fits neatly into rows and columns. Structured data. We used Dataverse for this.
Microsoft's data platform, right?
Yep. Specifically, we pointed the agent to 3 tables. One for product information specs, prices, categories, that kind of thing. One for customer details. And critically, the purchase table, which holds all the order information, and importantly, the current status of each order.
Okay, so that covers the basics, like what's the price of X or where's my order? But what about the messy stuff, the troubleshooting tips, the weird edge cases that support staff just know but aren't in a database field?
Exactly. That's where the second type comes in, and it's a real game changer. Unstructured data. We uploaded a PDF file, just a regular document, called Customer Problems and Solutions.pdf.
So like an internal knowledge base article or FAQ.
Pretty much. Think of it as the company's internal troubleshooting guide. The key thing is, the agent can read and understand the text within that PDF. It doesn't just search for keywords. It comprehends the context.
Wow.
So for example, if a customer emails complaining their air fryer is making a weird noise, the agent can consult that PDF and find the instruction that says, check if it's on a stable surface or make sure it's not overloaded. It uses that info alongside the structured data.
That combination is really powerful. Database expert and document analyst. But, quick question. How easy is that PDF to maintain? If someone updates the troubleshooting step in the document, does the AI get the memo instantly?
It does, yeah. That's the beauty of it. When the agent needs that info, it reads the current version of the document. There's no complex indexing or tagging we need to do on our end. It just reads the file.
Okay, cool.
And we could actually test this before we even made it fully autonomous. Using the test panel, we could ask it things like, list all products over $300.
And it worked.
Yep. The little activity map showed it querying the Dataverse product table and spitting out the list. Same for asking about, say, Order 104 status. It hit the purchase table, found the order, and came back with completed.
Nice. So the grounding works, the agent has the facts, but right now, like you said, it's still basically a fancy search engine waiting for a human prompt.
Exactly. The next step is making it kick itself into action.
Which brings us to triggers. How do we make this thing run without someone sitting there typing questions into it?
Well, given the mission tackling that customer care mailbox, the trigger's pretty obvious, right?
Has to be the email arriving.
Precisely. The trigger we set up is when a new email arrives in a shared mailbox. This actually gets handled behind the scenes by Power Automate. It creates a flow that listens to that mailbox.
Okay.
And when a new email lands, bam, the flow fires and calls our Copilot agent. Crucially, when it calls the agent, it passes along key info. The entire email body, the subject line, and very importantly, the sender's email address, the customer's from address.
Got it. So the agent gets the full context of the incoming request.
Exactly. Everything the decision engine needs to start its work.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because context is great, but if the agent can't do anything with it, it's just reading emails. It needs, as you said, hands and feet. Let's talk tools.
Right. Tools are how the agent interacts with the outside world or other systems. The first and most essential tool we added was, naturally, send an email to customer.
Makes sense. Closing the loop.
Yep. We leverage the Power Platform connectors for this. There's an action called send an email from a shared mailbox. Now, interestingly, during setup, we could have let the generative orchestration try to figure out everything, but we made a specific choice.
Oh, is that?
We actually hard-coded the from address, making sure it always came from the official customer care shared mailbox.
Ah, consistency. Good idea.
But we left the to address, the customer's email, the subject line, and the entire body of the email completely dynamic.
Meaning the AI, the generative orchestration, has to figure those out. It has to pull the customer's email from the trigger data, write a suitable subject, and compose the entire response based on its findings.
Correct. It's responsible for crafting that whole outgoing communication based on its understanding of the situation and the data it retrieved. That's a pretty significant task for the AI.
It really is. And I guess the quality of that output, that autonomous action, really depends on how well we instructed the agent in the first place.
Absolutely. The instructions are paramount.
Right.
We update them with a very clear, very direct mandate. The agent must call below actions without any human interactions.
Oh, okay. Must. And without any human interactions. That's explicit. What were the key rules we gave it? The do's and don'ts.
We gave it some core directives.
Okay.
First, if the email sounds like a complaint, go check that customer problems and solutions.pdf for a fix.
Okay.
Second, if they're asking about an order status, use the order number they provide, hopefully, and check the purchase table in Dataverse.
Makes sense.
Third, if it's just a general product question, use the product knowledge base, the product table.
Standard stuff. Anything else?
Yes, and this was critical for the user experience. Style notes. Always use HTML format for the email reply.
Right. Make it look professional.
Exactly. Look professional. And this is a big one. Do not include any citations in the final email.
No, like source, purchase variable, row 5, or according to customerproblems.pdf page 3.
Precisely. We want the customer to get a clean, confident answer from the company. not see the internal plumbing. It builds trust.
That's a really smart touch. Okay, so instructions are clear. Let's see the autonomy in action. Test number 1.
Right. First test. Customer emails asking for details about products, specifically in the electronics category. And the agent wakes up when the email arrives. Generative orchestration figures out, product lookup, queries the right knowledge sources, finds the electronic items, and then uses that email tool to fire back a nicely formatted HTML response with the details. Worked perfectly.
Nice. Test 2.
Customer emails. Can you check the status of my order number 102?
Okay, straightforward lookup.
Yep. Agent triggers. Gen orchestration knows it needs the purchase table, queries it using OPO2, finds the status, and emails back. The status of order 102 is active. Clean, simple, autonomous.
So it handles those single-step tasks well, but the real magic you mentioned is coordinating multiple things, right?
Exactly. That's where the orchestration part really shines.
Okay, so let's level up. The agent can answer questions, send emails, but what if it's more complex? What if a customer complains and we need the agent to not only reply with a solution, but also say, log that complaint in a separate system for tracking, and maybe even give the customer a reference ID?
That was the next logical step, handling multi-tool workflows. For that, we needed a second tool.
Let me guess, something to log the feedback.
You got it. We added tool 2, add customer feedback. This tool connects directly to another Dataverse table we set up called customer feedback table. Its job is simple. Create a new row in that table whenever it's called.
Okay, and similar to the email tool, I assume the inputs for that new row, like who complained about what product, the actual feedback text, those are dynamic.
Absolutely. We configured the inputs, customer email, product info, customer feedback to be filled dynamically by the AI based on what it understands from the incoming email content. It pulls out the key details and populates the table fields.
Clever. So it parses the complaint and files it away automatically.
Exactly. And of course, we immediately updated the agent's instructions, added a new rule for any complaints or feedback, use the add customer feedback tool.
Right.
But here's the crucial linking part. We also added, make sure to include feedback ID in outgoing email for customer reference.
So you're forcing it to use tool 2 first, get the ID that's generated when the row is created, and then use tool 1 to send the email, making sure that ID is in the body.
Precisely. True multi-step dependent orchestration, no human involved.
Okay, moment of truth then. The final, complex test case. What was it?
Customer sends an email. They're complaining that their new 4K monitor is overheating. They also helpfully include their order number, say 1000.
Okay, so a complaint and potentially useful data. What did the agent do?
This time, when the agent triggered, the generative orchestration kicked off a sequence of 3 distinct steps.
3. Okay.
Step 1, it recognized the complaint, extracted the details, and used tool 2 to log the feedback in the Dataverse table. That action returned a new feedback ID, let's say FB123.
Okay, feedback logged. Step 2.
Step 2, it consulted its knowledge specifically, the customer problems and solutions.pdf, looking for information on overheating monitors. Let's say it found a standard troubleshooting tip.
Right, step 3.
Step 3, it used tool 1, the email tool. It composed a professional response, included the troubleshooting tip it found in the PDF, and included the line, for your reference, your feedback has been logged with ID FB123.
Wow. So it logged the issue, found a solution, and confirmed the logging back to the customer, including the ID, all from one email, completely automatically.
Instantaneous, closed-loop autonomy, handling multiple dependent tasks.
That is seriously impressive. And what about the contrast test? Did you try sending something that wasn't a complaint?
We did. We sent a simple email. Give me price for air fryer.
Did it try to log it?
Nope. The agent triggered generative orchestration correctly identified it as a simple informational request. It executed just 2 steps, searched the product knowledge, used tool 1 to send the price. It completely bypassed tool 2, the feedback logger.
Brilliant. So it dynamically chose not to use one of its available tools because the context didn't require it. That really proves the orchestration intelligence.
Exactly. It's not just blindly following a checklist. It's making real-time decisions based on the input and its instructions. So when you boil it all down, what we've outlined here is the blueprint for building a genuinely autonomous agent. It starts by watching an unstructured source, like that email inbox. It grounds itself in the company's specific reality, using both structured tables and unstructured documents. Then, critically, it uses that generative orchestration brain to dynamically figure out the best course of action.
And then acts on it.
and then acts, using tools to perform external tasks multiple steps, even like sending that formatted email or logging data into another system, all without needing a person to intervene.
It really is a shift from just being a passive knowledge source like a chatbot to being an active decision-making, almost operational system, an employee, kind of.
Just a good way to put it.
Which brings us to the final provocative thought for you, our listener, to consider. We saw this agent successfully follow instructions, log complaints, send official company responses, all based on that explicit mandate. Call below actions without any human interaction.
Yeah, that instruction is key.
So what are the real consequences or maybe the potential pitfalls of deploying an AI that is specifically told to act independently, especially when it's handling sensitive things like customer complaints, maybe even processing returns or refunds down the line, and logging data? When the AI is making decisions based on this complex, layered, automated decision tree we've built, where does the accountability truly sit if something goes wrong? What does that structure look like? Something to think about.